Hello and welcome to another VOD review. We're going with the finals off the bat. We got the Gladiators taking on the Chengdu Hunters. So this was a pretty insane match. Probably one of the best matches that actually happened in this season. Very back and forth. It felt like the Gladiators were the better team. I predicted the Hunters coming into this, and I really thought that they were going to be able to find a solution to enable Jinmu and leave more and sort of keep Gaga and Monk alive. But it felt like that the Gladiators were just a better team. When they were playing well on maps that they could execute, they look unbeatable, at least against the Hunters. There was a little bit of trolling from the Gladiators. They lost a couple of maps that they probably shouldn't have, but we'll break those down as we go along. So big props, and spoilers to the Gladiators winning the Countdown Cup. They're a franchise that has been around since the beginning of time. It feels like that has always struggled to close in the final hours. This is the first grand finals they ever made it to, and they got the win. You got to be happy for players like Birdring, like Space, who have been around for a long time, but also for a lot of these other guys, like rookies like Kevster. Well, sort of Kevster. He's been around for a year and a half, but he's been on the Gladiators for a while. And Muse, obviously, a new acquisition that we had a lot of expectations for. So, I'm happy for these guys. I'm excited to see more of this gameplay. There's a lot of weird things, but we'll just break it down as it goes along. So, all right. Oh wait, I think this is on 20 seconds right now. Yes, it is. All right, let's go back a little bit more, and we'll have a look at it. So the Hunters come out with the Pharah, Hanzo, Orisa. Gladiators, I really like this Baptiste Zen setup that they play with. This is how they fucked over the Atlanta Reign. This Baptiste Zen just has so much damage, especially with the Orisa and the Hanzo or the McCree. They just put out so much damage in the backline, but it is a very greedy pick that can be punished if they play a proper dive. I think Leave really wants to be on the Tracer in this setup instead of the Hanzo. But Jinmu needs to do a lot of work on this Pharah. Yeah, I'm gonna open things after the review. So Gaga goes down, but Jinmu and Leave do be fucking. Alright, so the Gladiators have more control, but the Hunters win. And I think one of the biggest issues that I think the Hunters were having with playing this Pharah composition, it was just so slow. I think the Gladiators understand better than anyone. They don't try and kill Jinmu. It feels like they try and mitigate the effectiveness that he can get while they kill everyone else around him, right? Window v window. Monk just dies. What happens to Monk? Oh, he threw the lamp on the corner and got booped by Space, so we got pushed out of the lamp. Good play by Space. And Space does this time and time again with his D.Va, where he plays super aggressive and just fucking flies at people. And it's actually such a good play because it gives everyone else on his team a lot more work. Space God. That is also another funny narrative, because how many times have I had to defend Space in my VOD reviews this year? It has to have been almost close to double digits of the number of times I've had to defend Space as a player. But now everyone's like, wow, Space is so great at the game. God, you fucking... Some of you guys. I am the chief Space simp. I've been singing his praises for a long time. Space is not our level, smiley face, I know. Muse is alone. I feel like Muse didn't get the memo that everyone backed up. Yeah, it's gonna force Transcendence from Skewed. I don't hate the Transcendence from Skewed. I don't think it was necessary. Oh, Leave gets Birdring anyway. Bomb was not very good by Lei Young, but... Oh, wow, great bomb. Great pull, sorry. Leave gets Kevster. Leave do be doing a bit of fucking... Let's see this head. Space is only a good player because he's Western. I don't know what that has to do with anything. I think you deserve that deleted message. Oh. And here's the thing. I think a lot of people, a lot of people question why Shu was as good. They're like, oh, he just had that one pop-off moment. No, Shu is brilliant at everything that he does. He does so much damage, but he also gets a lot of like healing and support. Like his lamps are always on point. His healing to keep his tanks alive is really good. It's not just those pop-off moments that everyone keeps in mind. Like Shu has been incredible throughout the entirety of the Countdown Cup. For other things other than those just couple of plays. God, he can just not kill Gaga. He got him eventually. Damn. Belter pulls out the Glock. Skewer's getting a little bullied right now. Looks like Chengdu should get the cap here. Shoot #1 flex support in the league? No. In the Countdown Cup, yes. In the league, no. Like over the whole season, no. Yveltal. Yveltal always chooses violence, let's be real. I would say if you wanted to say the best overall throughout the season, I think it would have to be Izzyaki or Fielder. As much as it feels like a cop-out to say Dallas players, I think Izzyaki and Fielder have both been incredible throughout the entirety of the season. Like, people seem to forget that, like, how well Izzyaki played in the Summer Showdown. Izzyaki murdered everyone. And people just seem to, like, have forgotten that Izzyaki actually murdered everyone in Zen in the Summer Showdown.
Into the iris.
Alright, well played. Space Force is back again, and this is what I love about the way the Space plays, is he just forces them to deal with him, right? So look at this play. So he protects his Orisa, trying to keep him alive. Transcendence comes out, so he knows all of a sudden he doesn't need to play that defensive style. He's literally just gonna yeet into the backline, right? And this is what makes him so great. He's making himself a threat. So they drop window. Monk drops a window in the front line. They don't want to. They want to shoot forwards, right? But Space goes into the backline. He's going to apply a ton of pressure. He forces the Valk, and he forces Monk's lamp. In just that one play, he forces the Valkyrie and the lamp from Monk and gets out of there. Forces them to turn around. That gives his team the ability to recover, drop their own window, and now they're in an advantageous situation, right? So it's not just about getting the plays. It's about the resources that you're forcing out of them as well. Space making space. Alright, let's see this Genji, because I'm still not sold on the Genji. I feel like Genji can work at certain times. I kind of like the way that he does it. Like, I feel like Jinmu switched to Genji every time they played Baptiste Zen, which I like. I like that adaptation because Baptiste Zen, Genji can really assist the dive and overwhelm them. But the problem with doing this is that Skew just switches to Brig here, right? And now all of a sudden you can be in a pretty bad spot. He does evolve, and they don't evolve, so it should be a pretty easy cleanup. Didn't really work out very well for him, but he lived with 1 health. Oh, we kind of messed that up. Too many players, he's in trouble. No! Get on, leave. Alright, good first round by the Chengdu Hunters. And I think that is the weakness of the Baptiste Zen that I think the Gladiators struggled from, is that if they do get switched on, like a Hunters switch off of the Pharah and go towards this heavy dive, it took, Gladiators just didn't win the fights that they needed to win, and then it just snowballed from there. Even, like, that wasn't even a great dive, especially with that Genji blade, but they just overwhelmed them. You think Genji picked lost the maps? Here's the thing that you say when you say that Genji lost some picks. Jinmu, Sombra, just honestly, that Chengdu Hunter's Sombra play was uninspiring to say the least, and I don't think it worked that well against the way that the Gladiators were playing. So if he's not going to play Sombra and he's not going to play Pharah, what else is Jinmu really going to play other than Genji? Like, he doesn't play as many other heroes that I think are better options, and I think Genji is just comfort for Jinmu. So as much as I think we can look at it and be like, it technically isn't great, I think it's Jinmu's comfort, and I think Jinmu Genji did a lot of work from time to time as well. So can you put grand finals? All right. There it is. Jinmu has a sick Hanzo. Yeah, but they generally, if they're in that situation, like, he doesn't want to play Hanzo. Like, did we see any of Jinmu Hanzo? I actually don't remember seeing Jinmu play Hanzo this whole time. So I don't think that's really something that he's been wanting to do. All right, so we're going to see pretty much a mirror, except Lei Young's playing Zarya and Birdring's playing Soldier. I don't love the Soldier pick against what the Hunters are playing, but I also don't love the Zarya pick, so I don't really know how to feel about both of these. Great counter dive by Muse onto Gaga with that ball. He's just too much damage and that should get the kill. That did herd them into a corner, right? Oh yeah, and Lei Young just absolutely messes them up. So that was a pretty good counter dive by the Gladiators, but they kind of bunched up a little bit and just got overrun. On Havana, he played Hanzo? Okay. Oh, good hack onto Kevster. Hack onto Kevster opens up this whole fight. All of a sudden, like, this is such a bad fight for the Gladiators. They're trying to enter, but then they lose a lot of their pressure, and now they're, like, stuck in this room. I think Mira will play with Kevin Bird. Unlikely. Mira's a very much a specialist here, player, but I feel like the game has moved away from specialists. And here, I will say this till the end of my days as an Overwatch analyst. I don't think there's a single team that has effectively run like a 9-man roster. You know what I mean? Where they sub out DPS all the time. They sub out tanks all the time. They sub out supports all the time. You can make an argument for the San Francisco Shock in Season 3, where they switched Striker in to play Tracer, and then, like, Super and Smurf around. But even then, Smurf it was only really in, like, heavy Rhine metas, and they weren't doing it that much. I feel like they've done a lot more this season. I think it's shown a lot of the issues they create. I'm a big person for believing that you are better off running 6 great players that have a lot of versatility, that play their own style, and just run with that 100% of the time. Maybe 7 players if there's like a specialist or someone you want to implement, maybe in the DPS role. But for the most part, I firmly believe that you're better off just running a smaller roster that has more synergy, that knows how to play together.
My ultimate is almost ready.
Yeah, I don't really, like, and I think this was like a common theme with the Chengdu Hunter. I don't know what happened with if this is the Gladiators playing really well around their EMPs and stuff, but I really did not like a lot of Gladiators EMPs, like Chengdu's EMPs. Like, this is a good EMP because it hits the Zen, but they can't follow up. Like, he was in a defensible spot, then Jinmu dies, right? Like, there's no way using an EMP you should be the one that dies. Then we got a stacking of the ultimates, of the support ultimates here. Yveltal uses the rally. Monk feels like he's in trouble and then has to use his transcendence. So they use both. All the Gladiators have to do is disengage from this. And then Birdring should be able to get a pretty good visor from this. I would have liked to have seen him run to the high ground. I feel like they don't have a lot of people that deal with him from the high ground. If he had gotten up there, he could do a lot of work with that. It's a good visor still nonetheless. Yeah, and then I think that fight is just a bad EMP and bad support ults. Gladiators were just able to use their ults more effectively. Is All-Stars cancelled this year? I have no idea what's happening with All-Stars. This is map 1. Prepare for a lot of battling all uses, and that I think is what is disappointing about the Hunters. I don't think you can discredit the Gladiators at all, but there was a lot of weird mistakes that the Hunters make that were like vintage old school Chengdu Hunters that they just like, I feel like they dropped the ball at times, and Hunters could have easily won this match if they hadn't done that, but obviously the same can be said from both sides. Like Gladiators in the back half had a couple of very questionable mistakes. Good slam, good D.Va bomb. Late Young's just in such a frowny town. Nice play. And I don't really like the Zarya at all. I feel like the Zarya, especially seeing as that he just used his grab, I would have much preferred to see Late Young switch over to the D.Va. I feel like the Zarya's gonna have issues like you saw here, especially trying to re-engage. He's trying to re-engage. Oh, he actually switches to D.Va now. Trying to re-engage with the Zarya is just like, as soon as he walks past a certain point, the Gladiators are gonna be able to get an easily and effective dive. Gator is only good at Ryan and the range still dominates. What do you think? I just disagree with you that you think that Gator's only good at Ryan. Okay, so the Gladiators gave up a lot of space. Kevster gets hacked again. Kevster's got to be careful. That's the second hack that Jinmu has gotten on Kevster that has been like fight opening as well. Like you should not be getting hacked as a tracer before the fight has really begun. So you need to give credit to Jinmu, but Kevster can definitely do better with that. Another great hack on the shoe. Don't use the EMP. You don't need to do it. But Met EMPs, yeah, their EMPs have been really quite poor in the Countdown Cup. And I was concerned about that with them playing Sombra, but yeah. I love this play by the Hunters as well. This is such a smart play. They're gonna play aggressively and rally. They actually don't get the effectiveness out of the rally, but by doing this, it sort of forced... It made it a lot harder for Gladiators to touch, right? So now the Gladiators touch and Muse gets punished for touching because the Gladiators couldn't aggress onto the Hunters with the rally going. They didn't fall. Oh, why did Monkeys Transcendence? Oh, actually, yeah, that was good. He needed that. Good job by Kevster, but oh, Shu gets the Transcendence off of the EMP. This could easily be winnable for the Gladiators. Once again, Hunter's ultimate usage just doesn't really pay off. Yveltal uses the rally too early, think they're going to get engaged. Monk gets his Transcendence forced by a Tracer. Jinmu's EMP hits one, and the Transcendence comes off of it. Like, it feels like they're winning this map wholly off just good individual play, like in the neutral, and not their ultimates at all. How do you think some teams like to stagger Baby D.Va and others are not? Other players, like, legitimately, this is gonna sound stupid, but some players are just greedy. Like, straight up, there is no, it is just players want to get the final blow. I swear that the reason some teams don't stagger it is just because they're greedy and they want to get the kill. Like, there's no reason that they should ever not stagger it. There are situations where you should just instantly kill it, but I swear to God, DPS players, I'm looking at you, who are just like, I just want to get the kill. I swear. Because there are some times where you're like, there's no reason they should have killed that Baby D.Va that fast.
Ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Can you analyze how Chengdu threw away 3 maps? Yeah, well, that's what we're doing, right? We're having a look at this. And let me get started with this one, right? Because I actually really hate, because they're about to go back and swap. So they come out with the Winston-Anna Brig. And funnily enough, the last time they played this map, the Gladiators won, but it was quite close. The Hunters should have probably double capped, and then the Gladiators had that crazy shoe sleep into snowballing with the Nanoblade EMP. So that's how Gladiators won it last time. So the Hunters came in this time with a very different strategy. So they go over and they switch to Wrecking Ball, Brig Zen, Tracer Sombra, if I remember correctly. And I think this is such a bad decision because the problem with this composition is that it's very hard to... I think this composition is good on defense where you can choose the tempo of when you want to engage. But if you can't choose the tempo when you want to engage, like attacking first point Anubis, what happens is it becomes very hard to keep your flex support alive and your supports alive. Your DPS can't get space, your tanks can't get space into the map, and your backline can't ever sort of enter in a way. And we're going to see this happen time and time again because the Gladiators with the Winston-Anna, especially once they start getting ult cycles going, they can just choose whenever they want to go, right? They don't need to do anything. They're just chilling. They're just trying to deny as much space as they can, not let anyone in. But eventually, they get to choose the tempo, right? And if Gladiators were a bad team, which they're not, they would just let them, like, the Hunters set up in this room, they would let their backline get here, and then they'd let their frontline dive. But the Gladiators are a good team, and they're not going to let them do that, are they? They're not going to let their backline sit there for free. So what they do is they dive into the backline, and because they're so weak, right? They're playing Brig Zen. They're just not able to stay alive. They get absolutely murdered by the dive. Great play by Birdring getting in behind them, and then they just lose that first fight for almost free. And this is when it gets hard, especially like, look at their Hunter's ult charge. They got essentially nothing from that. While Shu almost has a nano. And then once he gets this nano, that's almost another free team fight win from Muse. And he should have it for this team fight. I am surprised. Here's the thing. I'm surprised they didn't play Pharah. I really think Hunters should play Pharah. And this is what made me think that they're in their heads about the way that they want to play the game. Is like, there is no reason, in my opinion, that they shouldn't play Pharah. I think they could easily just play the Pharah Tracer. They could even play like Pharah Tracer, Anna, Wrecking Ball D.Va, Winston D.Va. They could easily make that work, and I think it would be more reliable and plays to their strengths a lot more. But for whatever reason, they went with this Tracer Sombra when they haven't really been getting a lot of effectiveness out of Sombra. God, Muse was so close to dying. If Muse died here, this would be a very different map. But instead, they get the nano off, and then the dive becomes effective, right? Velto goes down, and they'll hold. Is this the first review from the Countdown Cup Plus? I honestly don't think I'm going to do many other reviews either, if I'm being real. I honestly don't think there were any other good games that happened in this tournament. This one is very interesting. It's a great game to review, but like, we're never going to see this meta again in terms of this cycle. We've seen all those teams before. We've reviewed a lot of those teams, and the games just weren't very interesting. Shu gets caught out here a little bit. Look at this, how much Shu lives. Talent takedown. Talent takedown was also a letdown in terms of like gameplay. So, honestly, I think we're going to play a lot of ranked. Look at Shu. He is just getting abused, but he's alive. And he's dead. Think about how many resources they had to invest onto him to try and get that. That was an enormous EMP from Jinmu as well, though, and that needed to be stayed. So Space loses his mech, but I think this is the man you need to look at when you're looking at how they get away with this. I want to highlight something as well, because I remember seeing this live when it happened. I have a big issue with how the Chengdu Hunters set up for this fight. Because they're playing Brig Zen. I would much prefer for them to even take the long way around and go all the way to the high ground. But I think positioning themselves here is so susceptible to the diving. Like, this is just really easy for Muse to get on top of them. And what's going to happen is they're going to be able to force this Transcendence out of Monk for almost free, right? Nano Monk. So he gets forced really early, and it didn't really cost the Gladiators anything. Nano Winston, but that's not the worst thing in the world. the primal comes out, and now we have a pretty even fight. Gaga gets hacked on the point. So instead of hunters forcing the gladiators to come in and use a lot of resources to get into the fight, they were able to get in and get effectiveness with their ultimates quite easily, and that's what made it such an easy turnaround for the gladiators. And the Chengdu hunters sort of just like questionable. Even if they played over here, right? Like, I think if they played over here, the team would still have to jump through the rest of the team, and they could back off to this mini. Then all of a sudden the gladiators get really split, right? By playing this fight here, all of a sudden the backline can also see their teammates. They can drop to point. They can pivot away. Seemed like a very interesting decision of why they went there. Were they played on point? No, you don't want to be on point because that's the same thing of like they're dumping in and getting a ton of effectiveness. Like maybe you can make an argument that playing over here, because they have the transcendence, force the gladiators to dive super deep, but it doesn't really matter where, right? It just matters that if the gladiators go, they have to go very deep to get there, right? They have to go way too far, and then hopefully you can greed if you do it. If you're far enough away, the follow-up's not going to be there as effectively, and you can force more resources, force more time out of the gladiators, and create more distance between the rest of their team. Let me like just give you more of a obvious example, right? So with where they are, right? So here's the point I'm trying to make, right? So Muse can get here, and he used two ults to force that transcendence, but look at all of a sudden, Muse, Shu, Space, Skewed, they're all in a good spot. Birdring, thing, they haven't had to go far enough away that they actually can all support each other, right? Well, if, let's say that their backline was all the way back here, Shu wouldn't be able to help them, right? Because he'd be stuck here, in a way, right? And he wouldn't want to walk too far forward without getting punished. Space wouldn't want to have to, like, go all the way over here. Birdring, if Kevster wanted to go over there, he would have to use like a bunch of blinks. So there's a lot more resources that get invested to get over here, and then they would also need that to get out. While instead, because they were able to like sort of force that and then bunch up, all of a sudden they can just walk in a defensible situation and just not feel like they were ever exposed. Like no one was ever exposed for the gladiators other than Muse, but he had Nano and a Primal, right? So alright, now the hunters are in trouble because they don't really have many ultimates.
Seconds remaining.
So once again, the gladiators are just letting them in. Aw, how does Kevster kill Monk for free? No one's controlling space. Like, look at the, like, just look at it through the wall and you can see a problem, right? They are all bunched up. They're going up against an EMP. And look at how their team is set up. They have nothing to deal with this EMP. They're hoping that Jinmu, no one is controlling flanks, taking flanks, or anything like that. Kevster's able to just walk around to the back line. All of a sudden, he's on Monk for free. And just gets a, that's a filthy one clip. Holy shit. Gets a great one clip on the Monk. And now they're just in trouble, right? Birdring gets the EMP. Doesn't need to hit many, hits two. Like, I think that's a good EMP. They get Jinmu. Yveltal forced to use the rally, but dies. And then if you're the gladiators, all you gotta do is really start grouping up again.
10 seconds remaining. Overtime.
Leave loses to Birdring in the 1v1. Jinmu EMP is good, but the rally's up. I don't think they were gonna win this fight anyway. They were all over the place. Not healthy at all. So it's kind of a C9, but also not a C9.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attack.
Leave loses to Birdring. No, sorry, Birdring lost to Leave over here in the 1v1. Alright, so now the Hunters are gonna play the double bubble defense with the Tracer Sombra, which is a good defense. I think we can all agree that Winston-Anna on a Temple of Anubis is good. Like, I would have preferred to see them mirror the Winston-Anna, like, on their own attack as well. So, because we know that they can play it. But we just sort of have a poke off right now. It feels like the Gladiators are winning this charging battle though, right? And they're gonna be careful, right? They're giving a lot of charge to Shu. Like, Shu's gonna go think. I actually like this decision by the Gladiators as well. The Hunters are giving them a lot of space because they don't want to charge the Nano, right? So they don't want to shoot. So Muse is actually gonna jump and take the space. Not too hard. It was kind of like a probing dive to just sort of see if anything would happen. And they are gonna get the Nano in a second here. As long as they don't get punished for this. And they're gonna get Gaga. They force Gaga out of position. Gaga's low. The Nano goes out onto Muse because they had that advantage from the Nano, as I said. And that's just gonna be the ball game. And that's just how you play this Winston-Anna. That's pretty textbook by the Gladiators. Feigning aggression, playing well, playing for the dive, getting the advantage. They got Gaga low and then dive with your Nano. Like, you can't ask for better play than that. Why Hunters prefer the Zarya? Generally in the East, they prefer the Zarya. I'm not sold with the Zarya. I don't really like the Zarya. I think the Zarya has the potential to get high value grabs. You get high charge, but I feel like you can also have situations like we just saw there from the Hunters is that the D.Va controls space way better, and Late Young just didn't get charged, so he just didn't help stem that aggression from the Gladiators. So I think D.Va's just a much more well-rounded hero in these compositions.
Ready for battle.
Thoughts on Late Young D.Va? Late Young's really impressed me this season. Really impressed me this season. Alright, I think we're gonna watch from Jinmu perspective because I think this is gonna be really... I kind of want to see how the Gladiators deal with Jinmu. Or how... Because I always feel like they never really dealt with Jinmu. They just sort of worked around him. I don't know if they can play Winston, Zen, Brig. Someone's switching, right? Yeah, okay, there we go. I love watching Jinmu Pharah. It's actually so good. We have not talked about the Brigitte thing. In my defense, okay, let me defend myself. So it's on YouTube. I feel like someone told me that it was Brigitte. At some point, someone told me. Because do you think I just, in my mind, I thought up that it was Brigitte? I feel like someone who felt like they had some authority told me that it was Brigitte. Because I think I remember when it first came out, I thought it was Brigitte. And I'm pretty, like, how do you actually say it? It's, like, what even is it? I'm still confused to this day. Brigitte. Brigida? Here's the problem on top of that as well, okay? Because I was trying to, like, add emphasis by saying the names long form and not using the thing. I'm just never gonna do that again. I'm just gonna call her Brig from now on. I'm just gonna call her Brig. Fuck it. Okay, let's now this is done. Look, and this just sort of goes to my point, right? Of like Gladiators, they're not trying to deal with Jinmu, right? They deal with everyone else. They're just sort of like nullifying his aggression and while pushing the backline away, pushing the D.Vas away. Like, it feels like Jinmu's so free, but he's really struggling to, like, find targets. Oh, that feels bad. I don't think they needed that EMP or the Nano Winston, but I think it's first point in Barney. I think you'll do whatever you can to make sure you get it. Please see how Gaga died so fast. I assume he just got hacked. I think he got hacked and Kevster and Birdring just sent him to Frowning Town. Do you think Leave should have stayed on Tracer? Tracer can be really hard against this. I think he probably should have stayed on the Tracer. Because I think it's going to be really hard for him to live. But maybe they went to the McCree because they felt like they needed someone to assist Monk and just play around Monk. But it's like, I will always say that I think you really want to have a Tracer player who applies pressure in different angles. Because it feels like the Gladiators, Shu's going to essentially play this game for free. Let's get some Shu pop. Because other than the Pharah, Shu is probably going to be heckin' free. Muse got a little too aggressive there. Shu's in Frowning Town. Run, Shu! Run! Oh, God.
Time to raise my APM.
Free? Well, no. Well, obviously, when his whole team dies, he's a lot less free. Muse got a lot of value. Yeah, Muse's Winston was actually brilliant on these first two maps. Really playing to their strengths. Wait, how does Leave not die? Well, how does Leave not die and Kevster die? How is that even possible? Shu's in shambles. Oh, that's a clean tech. Oh, he's so sad. Good peel by Late Young. That was ambitious. Nice, mate. Hello, sound?
Get in there. Securing the payload.
Should do kind of be pounding. If he hit that would have been sick. But you guys sort of see what I'm talking about, right? Like, so obviously Shu is just fucking monstering, right? And doing a ton of work. You see what I mean by if Leave plays McCree, they don't have the pressure to apply to Anna, right? Like, a Tracer is an Anna's biggest worry because the Tracer can always exist. You can't just hard scope, you're getting shot in the back. A Wrecking Ball and a Pharah don't really have that same level of impact in terms of like stressing you out. Like, a Pharah is obviously annoying if she's shooting you, but you can dodge that and you can deal with that. And a Ball can't really apply pressure on his own because he just gets slapped and murdered like we saw. So I do not like that that switch from Leave onto the McCree. So it seems like they are switching to the Hanzo Sombra. Zen Brig. I don't like this switch to Zen Brig again by the Hunters. I think if they're going to play this style, Gaga also needs to go Orisa. They're going to play Zen Brig, they need someone to be in the front line. It feels like they're going to have like a Hanzo Zen Brig that is just going to get dove. And they're going to try and counter dive it, but they can't. The dive isn't effective enough with just a Wrecking Ball and a Sombra, but they also don't have a good enough tools to like counter dive. So I feel like these Nano Winstons and these Primal Winstons are just going to get crazy amounts of value, and they're putting a lot of weight on hoping that Leave just kills everyone. Leave gets caught. Like, I don't, like, how does Hunter's comp ever beat the Gladiators comp? Like, I just don't think it does. I don't think they're ever going to be able to get through anyone. They don't have enough damage. Like, it has to be everything relying on, like, Leave and Monk to just absolutely murder. But I think they're just going to, it's going to be impossible for them to take a long, sustained fight. Are they want to say counters? Counters? My bad. Oh. That's a problem. Like, look at how much work Muse is doing in this room. He's, they just can't even get out of the room. Like, they just, I don't like their comp at all. I like, if they're gonna play, like, I would even rather, like, if they want to go really greedy, I'd rather just see, like, a Bat Brig Orisa, like, Zen Brig Orisa might even work with the Hanzo. At least they'll have someone to be able to stand in the front line and, like, apply some form of, like, pressure in a way, but I feel like Gaga's probably doing negative value on Wrecking Ball because I feel like he can't play the game. So here we're gonna see the Gladiators go for the close hold, try and win the first fight with their comp. Unfortunately, I don't think it works very well. Jinmu catches shoot, Gaga catches skewed, and this is kind of like a, yeah, maybe not worth it for the Gladiators. And this is the risk to reward of going for these plays. Like, it can work really well if you catch them off guard and just get like some free ult charge, but I feel like this is also a really big failure by the Chengdu Hunters. Like, they need to, like, if you're at this point, I think you give up the point. You just collapse on these guys. They need to go punish Muse. They should go in this room. They should all go in this room and kill Muse. But by not doing, they didn't do anything, so they didn't punish anyone from the Gladiators, but they also lost control. So it feels like they gave away their advantage. She's in trouble. Space eventually gets Nisha though. It really does feel like the Hunters are just struggling to close out kills. I don't know if it's their target calling or what's going on, but it feels like they're just not winning these neutral fights. Like, that fight I think could have gone either way. Now leaves on Genji. I don't know why he doesn't want to be on the Tracer. I feel like maybe he felt like he was getting Tracer diffed. Agent Gamer Girl, thank you for the 2 months. Where's the teleporter troll? Oh yeah, we'll go back for it. At the end of this round. Remind me. Oh, actually, I remember this. This is tragic. This is sort of like the woes of the Chengdu Hunters, just like showing in their, rearing their ugly head.
Just a scratch, you'll be fine.
That was a nice sleep by Monk. So they pulse bomb to give him space and time. And then he barrages, but he gets shot by someone else, and then the recall happens. So they get nothing out of that great sleep, and they use their barrage. You having trouble talking today? Yeah, it's one of those days. They do get an okay blade, but it's not great. And they will close out this, out the first point. It cost them a lot though, but I think they eventually got value out of those, well, actually, let's go back and look at the EMP. So the EMP is pretty good. It captures 4. Unfortunately, they did have the Valk while that was going, so Birdring goes in. It's a good EMP. He just doesn't, the follow-up's not there, and because the Valk's out, they have the support. They get space, yeah, just, Gladiators use a lot of ultimates, they just didn't get a lot of value from them, so.
Stop the payload.
Okay. So Hunters have good ultimates. They're playing the Winston-Anna now themselves. They should have the advantage because they have the Nano Winston. I'd love to see them go. I'd love to see them go. They really need to go. Shoot eyes to leave. Let's have a look at this. Oof. Leave just gets you. Think you can see YZSNA now? Well, isn't it YZN? But probably not. I don't know, like you'd have to see him play in competitive, but you also need to be able to play multiple different heroes. Maybe you could come in as a specialist, but I don't really like specialists anyway. You know, I talk about that all the time. So, I think it's very hard to implement someone like that. I know he's playing contenders, but doesn't he, like, don't they just play Pharah in the contenders? So, like, here's another situation. I guess Hunters didn't really have any ultimates, but they're sort of... Oh, you gotta be careful with that dive, Gaga. I don't know if you win that. Yeah, Gaga just went... That felt way too deep from Gaga. Oh, wow, nice sleep. He didn't really have any follow-up. I feel like they needed to trade aggression a little bit. Or just, like, try and, like, play slow for ultimates. So he just, like, went deep on a Nano Brig, hoping it would work. A good sleep by Monk, again, on a Birdring. That should open this fight. Great EMP as well. Timely Nano by Shu, but it should. Muse is gonna live as well. Wow, great play by Shu, keeping Muse alive through all that. Once again, Late Young on the Zarya, just don't love it. What about 30-day contracts for one meta? I actually don't think a part of me thinks, I don't think you can do 30-day contracts unless you have like an emergency. I think fine 30-day contracts are only enabled in certain circumstances. You couldn't just be like, oh, there's a player, we're in a Pharah meta, let's sign this Pharah specialist. I don't think you're able to do that. You can? Oh, okay, well, that shows how much I know. Like for Aspire, yeah, like obviously a couple of their players got sick, so Aspire needed to play. And like I want to highlight here like how much I like dislike the Zarya, right? Like here is a weakness as well. Like if you go deep enough where you can get value out of your bubbles, you generally just die like that, right? Like Late Young is just really struggling to get effectiveness, and I just don't think it works, especially on such a high ground centric map like second point Numbani.
60 seconds remaining. Hello.
Gladiators just threw everything they had at this. What was that? It was Primal EMP, Pulse Bomb, D.Va Bomb. Does get them the team fight win. So that's good for them, but they should, Hunters should be able to come in to this fight. And like, as I said, like, obviously we're missing some things, but like, I think it's really worth highlighting like how bad I think this Zarya is. Like the Zarya just, I think, really struggles to get that effectiveness. Didn't Houston do this and didn't work? Winston-Anna is actually really quite good on some maps. Like Temple of Anubis and Numbani, like I think Winston is very good. The biggest problem that Houston had is they were trying to force this Winston-Anna comp, especially with the Zarya from time to time, too much on certain maps where it just like doesn't work. And especially if the opposition team has a good strategy against you. He's got the energy. Like people say like the win condition of the Zarya, like solo grabbing a Winston isn't really worth it. Yeah, I don't think Gladiators have the ults to win this fight. Oh yeah, now they got a Nana Zarya. Bzzz. Oh, nice pulse bomb. Oh, no skewed. Leave did this time and time again. Clean. How's Nisha being compared to Yveltal? I don't really understand why they play Nisha over Yveltal. I think it's basically if they're not really planning on playing too much Pharah Mercy, they play Nisha. But I don't really understand their Nisha and Yveltal subbing strategy. Both are good. Like, I have no problem with either, so I don't really understand why they go back and forth, but... So Gaga goes deep. He's done a great job getting onto Shu. Where's Skewed? Oh, there's Skewed.
60 seconds.
He almost kept him alive, but Kevster with a double pulse bomb. Let's have a look at that one real quick.
Let's try that again.
Nice pulse bomb. Clean. Nothing fancy. Business as usual. Ooh.
You got what's coming. Initiate self-destruct sequence.
My ultimate is charging.
Alright, so Hunters don't really have any ultimates coming into this fight. They're walking into a nano EMP. This is actually gonna be brutal.
30 seconds remaining.
Back Don't let him now.
Oh, wow. Great isolation on a Kevster. That's hard to do. Space gets hacked. Oh, that's a good EMP, though. That's a great EMP. Great play by Muse. Gets the juggle onto Monk. Kevster pulses Nisha. Just really good play by the Gladiators. Just good individual play. It's not just the teamwork that I think set Gladiators apart. Individually, all their players were honestly playing so well. Birdring, Kevster were absolutely pounding. Muse and Space were playing, like, doing their jobs as needed. And then obviously Skewed and Shu stepping up. So, you gotta say you love it.
Ready.
Oh, the Kevster teleport troll. Yeah. Let me show you this real quick because I think some people might have missed it.
Ready for battle. Initiating match. Ready for battle.
Teleporter online. We move swiftly.
Poor Shu, man. He just has Trace. He just he has trust.
Everything can be hacked. And everyone. Teleporter online. We move swiftly.
Absolute bants.
Ready for battle.
Oh, nerd. So it's 2-1 to the LA Gladiators right now. We go over to Route 66. It makes sense for Hunters to choose Route 66. They beat the Gladiators on this map last time. So they do look quite good here. Pharah can work. The biggest issue that they have is getting on the third point. But interesting enough, this was something, and I actually want to have a discussion about this as well, because they subbed in Among 1987, and they put Yveltal back in. What do you guys think about this? I remember having this conversation with Josh on the broadcast about being like, he said, this is a set strategy. I don't think this is a set strategy at all, because they played Route 66 like 2 days prior, and they didn't make these subs. Do you guys think this is subs of just like, hey, what we're doing isn't working, let's mix it up? Like, I feel like this is just like a, fuck it, let's try something else. Gaining experience, I will tell you 100%, they are not giving someone experience at this point of the series. When you are 2-1 down in the grand finals of the Countdown Cup, you are not putting someone on the stage to give them experience. Thought Gaga was boomed as fuck. Gaga hadn't been playing well this series, and I think Monk had also been struggling, so I don't hate the mix-up, but I really know, yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me. They sort of like mixed it up and tried to play these players, and I don't really know why. The sandbagging. Yeah, I think it is a mix-up. I think it's just the coaches being like, hey, we should try something else. And they do have good, like, 1987, Among, great players. Like, I don't dislike this. I think it does limit them a little bit. Like, Among is just going to play Wrecking Ball. I think it becomes very obvious. Maybe he plays a little bit of Orisa at the end, if I remember correctly, but I think the Gladiators know what to expect at this point, right? They're going to play the Winston-Anna. I think they've been playing this at their best. Like, they've been really good on this Winston-Anna, and I think Route 66 is a pretty good Winston-Anna map as well, so I think if you're the Gladiators, you're not that uncomfortable coming to this map. Especially because I think their comp works really well on third point. I will say I completely disagree with Josh's point of saying that this is a way for them to be like, oh, Gladiators definitely prepared for us doing this. Let's do this. And like, let's switch out our players so all of their like tape reviewing it doesn't count. It's like, that's not how Overwatch really works, in my opinion. Like, especially seeing as they are still playing Pharah. Like, it's not like they're not playing Pharah anymore and they're playing like Brawl or something very different. Like, they're still playing essentially the same thing, just with different players in. So I don't agree that it was like a premeditated, they're going to try and counter our we're going to try and counter their counter, right? Like, teams, like, it's not like they have a ton of time between when they played it's not like they have a ton of time from when they played on Thursday to when they played on Saturday. Like, you don't have enough time in the day on those kind of days where you have to play a bunch of matches, especially seeing as Hunters played 2 matches the previous day. They didn't practice anything. They didn't review a ton of tape. They didn't do all these kind of things. Like, same thing with the Gladiators, right? Like, obviously, Gladiators are going to look at that match and try and work out how they can do it differently. But I think if you go back and look at that match anyway, like, Gladiators just fucked up their dive a couple of times and then that cost them. It was a ritual to enter the Chengdu zone, so. But yeah, so Gladiators get the first fight, just doing a good job of countering their aggression, and they get the first point for essentially free.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Wobble, wobble, motherfucker.
Sleep God, thank you for the 2 months. What a great time to be a Glads fan. Boy, thanks for the good content, Custa. No worries. I'm actually really happy for a lot of the Gladiators guys. Like, I like, say what you will about like some people don't like parts of them. Like, I think these are all great players who have been working really fucking hard for it, and like, you got to feel good for D.Va as well. You know, like we had this conversation like a month or 2 ago, right, about being like I think I said like D.Va needs to get results, otherwise he should get fired. Like, he, like, for someone who has had like a lot of roster control and a lot of coaching control, he needs to get results, and I think he finally got those results. So you got to be happy for the guy, and you got to, you got to commend him for grinding and working, because it seems like a lot of the players have faith in him as a coach as well, and a lot of everything that happens. So you got to give to the whole organization. You got to give your applause, because they've fucking seen some shit, dude. Went from fire D.Va. Yeah, D.Va's not coach of the year.
Hunters tried to outsmart Glads outsmart.
I don't think that's how it happened. I think everyone's just trying to win. Thank you for the doll. Everyone wanted D.Va's head. Yeah, exactly. And like, that's the thing. Like, I think it was completely fair for people to be like, should D.Va, like, if Gladiators bomb out of the whole season, should Gladiators fire D.Va? And I think that was a reasonable conversation to have, right? Especially with how much talent is on this roster. But like, now that he's done it, like, I'm not saying D.Va should be coach of the year all of a sudden, but I am saying this, like, D.Va's proven himself. He's proven that he can get results. He's proven that they can do things. Obviously, he needs to extend this to playoffs, but, you know, you gotta take the bad with the good, right? You gotta give credit where credit is due. He's done a great job in like turning this roster around this season. I don't like Pharah on this map. I think it should be Sombra Traces. I disagree. I think the Hunters should just play Pharah. I think if they move away from their Pharah and play Tracer Sombra, they just lose this series. I don't think their Tracer Sombra is anywhere near as good as the Gladiators, and they will slowly lose this fight. They need to play to their strengths and then just hope it starts working and find ways to make their style work. Do you think Gladiators have a legit chance against the field? Absolutely. Like, you can't watch the way that the Gladiators play and say that, like, oh, they're not. I don't know if they can. Can they beat Dallas Fuel and Shanghai Dragons? I don't know. But at least it's a question that we don't have an answer to anymore, because if you asked me a month ago, can Gladiators beat Dallas Fuel or Shanghai Dragons, I would say no. But I think there is definitely a valid argument to be made about the Gladiators potentially winning the whole thing. Wow, great sleep by far away. Let's actually catch this. Nice sleep.
young again. Kick your butt.
Would Space have also been on the trade block? I don't know. It really comes down to internal. And, you know, I talked about it earlier. Like, I think Space has been good since the beginning of time. Like, I've played with him. I know the kind of player he is. I know the kind of teammate he is. I know he's great. And when a lot of people are like, Space is feeding, Space hasn't changed the way he's played the game. He's feeding, but his team is supporting him and taking his space and helping him. And now it's working. People just saw him die before and be like, wow, Space is so shit. But really, it was just Space doing his job, and the follow-up wasn't there. I've always thought Space has been doing his job, and he's been playing well. Especially, like, especially in the off-tank role, I feel like there is this, like, ridiculous thing of, like, people think the number of eats that a D.Va gets on, like, pulse bombs and dragons and grabs is, like, the ultimate high praise for a D.Va. How you define how good a D.Va is. Obviously, that's an important skill to have, but that's a small part of what makes a great D.Va great. You can't just look at the kill feed and you're like, wow, look at him eating all these things. Best D.Va in the world. Like, there's so many other things that matter. Good EMP. I actually like the positioning of 1987 there, but that was a good EMP. Card is going back though. Leave should not use this EMP. They need to just reset. Shouldn't Space have been playing a less aggressive style if his team wasn't following up on him before? Alright. Let's do a thought experiment, okay? Let's think of a team, okay, that has great players. Okay, we have great players in each individual role, okay? But the team starts struggling on their dive, and they're not able to get kills. Maybe, according to your logic, they should all, maybe they play a little bit more passive. Maybe everyone plays a little bit more passive. Slows down the game. They don't want to be the one that's feeding. Maybe everyone doesn't start playing as aggressive. Maybe everyone else waits for someone else to do something. Maybe, you know, we don't take those risks. Maybe we don't want to be the first one to die. And then nobody does anything, ever. Nothing works, and everybody looks bad and you lose fucking tragically. Bing, 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 it's the Washington Justice calling, because if you need to do your role, even if it is feeding, if you believe that you are doing the right thing, obviously you can't just blindly feed in. But if you believe you are doing the right thing and you're creating the space and the team should be following up on it, being like, no one's following up on me, I'm just going to stop doing anything and play passively is the worst thing you can do as a professional player, because all of a sudden you're just saying, this isn't my problem, this isn't going to be my fault, I'm just going to stop feeding. I'm just going to stop doing anything. Because as soon as you stop playing to win, you will lose. Because all of a sudden you're not playing to win, you're not playing to have effectiveness, you're just playing to not feed. And you've lost the game. And I think that is a thing that has happened with a lot of players and a lot of teams in the past, where everyone just starts like not playing aggressive, not putting things. And like it's even like said, like Muse was feeding at certain times back in the past when he was playing the Wrecking Ball and the Winston, but now it's finally paying off because they're like the team found a way to work together and make it work. Muse hasn't fundamentally changed exactly how he plays. It feels like the follow-up is there. They've found the balance. They've got some counter aggression from other people that gives everyone else more space. Space is playing aggressively enough that they can't just shoot at Muse the whole time. And even when they do Muse, right? Like obviously you got too aggressive and you got punished there. If Stu doesn't die there, that's a pretty good trade. Even then they force out EMP, they force out Nano. That wasn't the worst team fight for the Gladiators. Even though Muse died first and he played hyper aggressive and it kind of looked like he fed, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. Here's another example. This is a really interesting fight because I remember this happening, right? Let's look at it. We have 2:49 on the clock, okay? Actually, no, it's not this fight. It's not this fight. It's the next fight. It's when they flip the roles. I feel like the Chengdu Hunters, once again, I'm going to say it, they really struggled to focus targets. I feel like they really punished a kill people. And I don't know if this is credit, like, I think it's a bit of both, but credit to the Gladiators for trading aggro and also working together as a team well. But also, I think a little bit of target focus from the Hunters from time is just a little poor.
Time's up. Routing tower to forward barrier.
So Jinmu switches over to the Sombra. Obviously, he was playing Pharah without a Mercy just there, but I think he had Barrage. So he gets to switch. So they are going to play the mirror of the Tracer Sombra. And I said just before, right? I don't like this look by the Hunters. I don't think they should play the Tracer Sombra versus the Tracer Sombra. I just don't think they win at it. I don't think it's their strengths. They were having a perfectly fine defense, in my opinion, playing the Pharah Mercy, right? I don't understand why they started trending towards the Tracer Sombra Zen Brig. Maybe they thought they were going to get into third point, and they wanted to switch off to the Pharah because you can't play Pharah on third point, but I don't know. Jinmu gets caught. How did Kevster get Jinmu? Jinmu? He just didn't think he was gonna die?
Feeling much better.
Yeah, he just didn't think he was gonna die. Wow. Kinda pretty big mistake from Jinmu. So they got a good rally in the backline. Oh. Among gets skewed. Among's doing a great job on this Wrecking Ball. Honestly, leaving Among in this matchup so far has been doing a great job of like applying pressure to the backline. They haven't been able to keep skewed and Sure alive. Tech was sick, yeah. You can say a lot of things about Among, but I don't think you can ever say that his Wrecking Ball is bad. Didn't know that's how that works. Gladiators have rally, so they should be able to just rally out. Oh, how does your Velcro die? Thoughts on Faraway? I think Faraway's good. Oh, he missed the whip, and then he just turned his back to Space. Like, just look at how badly Space just bonks these guys. Space just get every single rocket, does like half of his damage, does like 100 damage in such a small amount of time. And then the follow-up from the rest of the team as well. Oh, he's on late young as well. Nice play by Space. Busting that shit wide open.
Feeling powerful, and I'm not even angry.
Interesting, Nano on a Muse. Why did that happen? I just low.
Feeling powerful, and I'm not even angry.
Running out of time. Everyone, adapt.
The payload has reached.
Poor Faraway. Time to go.
Forward shield.
Does anyone think the MVP vote should not happen after the grand finals? No, the MVP is for the season. It's a regular season thing. It's not a playoffs thing. It's how it works in a lot of traditional sports as well. Like, the MVP should be decided in the regular season. And that's the point of it, right? It's like, who's the most valuable player for the season? Looking at you, Shu fans, who want to vote for Shu for MVP for the season. Season! Great hack on a Kevster again. Dude, how do they not kill Bird? How do they not kill Kevster here? Space no MVP candidate? Space is in the exact same thing. Space didn't have a great, like, Gladiators' first half of the season was so bad that you like, that's one of the reasons that it's hard to consider them for a team, because a lot of their players struggled, because when your team is losing, you generally look worse. And that can be said for a lot of Gladiators players, right? Is there any chance for MVP for non-Chinese players? Yes. There is a percentage vote. Obviously, the fans vote. You guys are important. But you guys know how important you are? About a quarter important. You guys are only a portion of... The fan vote is only a portion of it. So even if 100% of the fans voted for leave, that is only still 25%. The rest of the 75 is distributed amongst people in the league. I think it's like teams, talent, Overwatch League, like as a whole, and that kind of stuff. So there's a bunch of other votes, and that's to avoid what happened in like 2018 when XQC won the Overwatch World Cup MVP, right? So they learned from that lesson. So is your vote worth 10 of ours? Probably more. If I'm being honest, probably a lot more. I don't know the math of it, but remember, I'm a vote of that, like another 25% or another portion, and my part of that is distributed. Isn't that many, right? What happened with XQC? In 2018, he won the MVP for World Cup. When he wasn't the MVP, it was just completely a fan voted thing, so of course XQC won, right? It's like if you did a fan vote in the Overwatch League for anyone, Super would win it, right? Unless obviously Chinese fans and stuff like that, but like a Western one. Wow, Farway lives through the hack. Gets the Transcendence off. Oh, Farway just got punched to Frowny Town.
Time to raise my turf.
I thought that was a Transcendence.
It's Sparkle for me because he really stepped up in my eyes this season. When Dallas needed him on something, he was on it and playing to or just below his counterparts that have played those Harrios more.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you can make an argument for Sparkle. I don't completely agree with you, but that's your right as a viewer to make that fan sentiment. Like, I think Sparkle has been good. I don't think he's been by far the best, but I understand where you're coming from. Sparkle, especially as a flex DPS. Thank you for the 5.
I might need this later.
The payload is approaching its destination.
Apagando las luces.
Good EMP, and there it is.
You need a timeout.
Tell me XQC was a bum in World Cup? No, XQC was a good player, man. XQC was a good main tank, and like he did well in the World Cups and stuff like that. He wasn't MVP, but he did fine. Wait, that was the same World Cup where his spacebar broke. Was it his spacebar that broke in the middle of it? No, his right click broke. In that tournament, his right click broke, so he couldn't shield anymore as a Reinhardt. So he was just left clicking. He couldn't right click. He couldn't use his shield anymore. So he literally. People were like, what the fuck is he doing? And he's like, dude, my right click broke. I couldn't use it. Yeah, that's right. He switched to Monkey. And everyone's like, why did he go Monkey? That's like a really bad choice in this meta. The game continued. It's XQC, you know? Overcoming all odds. All right, so we've got a Pharah Hanzo coming on the attack. I think this Pharah Hanzo comp should be good against the Gladiators. I think the Gladiators can potentially slowly hold them off, but I think the Hunters are going to get kills eventually, right? Jinmu and Leave are going to kill people eventually. It's just how it be. Oh, that was almost nasty. Is there a league award voted by the players? No. Oh! Dude, these body shots are fucking hurting Kevster right now. Oh! Yeah, get him, you Veltal. Yeah! Vote for the BFF. The Overwatch League teams. I think it's like the GM submit the awards. I don't know if they talk to the players and the teams of like, hey, who do we want to submit? I don't know how it works, but yeah. Her worker award is dumb. I'm going to time you out just for your lack of understanding what the award stands for. And you shouldn't say things like that if you don't understand what it is.
I'm here.
You have 10 minutes to review what the award is about and what it stands for in the Overwatch community. If you could explain it for him, no, I'm good.
Routing power to forward shield.
My ultimate is
It's been done. Justice reigns from above.
operating at maximum efficiency.
Alright, we'll play by Jinmu.
Lights off.
Healing it up. Form up.
Imagine saying, trust me, I don't give a shit that I'm a winner of that award and saying that the award is dumb. That's not what I'm upset about. If you understand what the award is and what it means to a lot of the players in the history of Overwatch, that is why it's important. And by saying that, you don't even like, people who say that don't even understand. And if you understood what it was, you wouldn't say that kind of thing. So and this is sort of what I was saying about the Hunters, where they are going to eventually win. Oh, wow. Fucking shoot, man. They are eventually going to win. The Pharah and the Hanzo is just going to get picks, and it gets really hard to dive with the Winston. The advantage... Oh, nice sleep by Far again. Far's actually had a really good map. Is that, like... The Hunters... This is why it's good. The first 2 points are quite good for the Pharah, but I think where they struggle is the third point, and we're going to see that happen.
Heroes never die.
Oh, actually, this is what I was trying to talk about. Wait, let's go back here. Actually, when does this fight start?
Suiting up. Get through this.
All right, so here's the fight. We're at 340. Okay, when this fight is kind of starting, Jinmu gets hacked. Leave gets Muse. Jinmu gets shooed. Good res by Yveltal though. Great sleep on the Birdring as well. So it's 6v4, right, for the Chengdu Hunters. Space is doing a great job of contesting the cart and just staying alive. They need to get a really good dive onto shoot. Good nano onto space, also extending this. Oh, shoot gets hit by the mines. Though I understand. Kevster and Birdring get leave and far away, which is actually just mental. That's such great play. But Jinmu's still alive. And while Jinmu's alive, I honestly think Jinmu's Pharah wasn't as clean as it has been in this series. Oh, great job getting away. Good EMP by Birdring. I don't think there's going to be the follow-up that he really needs for it, but space is back. Skewed rally. Remember, this fight started at 340.
Nerf this. Meta activated. Now show them.
Alright, Leave gets Shu again. Jinmu is just still alive.
Time to raise my APM. Routing power to forward shield. Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei.
And there it is. That gave him a minute 30. So this fight went on for 2 minutes. It was a 2-minute hold where I don't think the Gladiators had a single advantage the entire team fight. They were just holding. And I think the thing you need to like think about of how impressive that is first of all, that shows that the Hunters are not focusing targets. Their inability to close out targets and those ability to focus as a unit really struggled. But the Gladiators, their trading of aggro is so good. Like, Space and Muse did such a good job of like holding the cart while also applying pressure, and then Kevster and Birdring are still getting picks all over the place. Like, I think that it really is a good summary of like what happened in this match of just like Chengdu unable to really close out targets and get effectiveness from their ultimates, and the Gladiators just through sheer power of will refusing to give up. Space is in-game leader? I have no idea who's the in-game leader. Seems like Space is saying that he's been sort of the leader of the Gladiators. I believe it. Like he definitely had those qualities when I played with him. I know he's been trying to focus on like adding that to the team, so. But as I said, I don't understand the dynamics of the team. Huawei gets Kevster again. Bonk. He gave such good. His interviews have all been really good, the ones he's done recently. There's an important moment here that I remember happened. Good dive. Good EMP by Birdring. Birdring Sombra was actually really quite good in this in the Countdown Cup. I've never been a huge Birdring Sombra kind of fan. It's fine, but it wasn't as good as it was really good at this tournament. And I think it's sort of what forced a lot of the composition from the Hunters. So need to give props. So they went over to the Orisa Zen Brig Hanzo strategy. My biggest problem with the Zenyatta in this comp is it's so hard for Faraway to live. Like, it feels like a very greedy pick. Like, that was pretty well played by Faraway as well. We're gonna get the rally after the fact. Don't love the rally by Yveltal. Good play by Muse though. And he goes down for the cause, right? That's great play by the main tank. You can't ask for more than that. Is Kevster in trouble? Kevster's in trouble.
60 seconds remaining.
So very little healing for the Orisa. Yeah, but if you're going against the composition that the Gladiators are playing, you don't need a ton of healing. Like, I don't mind the lack of healing. A lot of teams have made this Orisa Zen Brig work quite well. So it's not like this is a different composition to what we've seen. Leave gets Shu. How does Leave get Shu? Oh, guilty. I think this is the moment coming up here that is so important. Look at this. He is hacked in the middle of the opposition team. Kevster is hacked. And Leave just can't hit him. By Kevster not dying, this creates such a problem. Because all of a sudden he just exists in the backline. He's really hard for them to deal with. And they have to like focus so much on him. And if he had died there, he would have been one of the few people, like last people out. But instead he comes out late, manages to get the recall, applies a ton of pressure, gives them the time to then come back, hit that EMP. And he just goes sicko mode. Doesn't even really do that much, actually. I thought he did way more in that fight than he actually did, but he just lived. Porter, thank you very much for the 4 months. Lip for MVP? Hell yeah. I think there should be a lot more Lip love out there. I feel like Lip, out of everyone, I'm not voting for Lip myself, but I do feel bad for Lip how little number of people are voting for him. I think Lip very much deserves it just as much as your Leaves, as your Fearlesses and stuff like that. Like, I do feel like he's been slighted a little. Also, Miss Chris, Chris, thank you for the 34 months. Welcome back from Hawaii, Custa. I don't want to talk about it, okay? I don't want to talk about Hawaii. Do you see the shit that they made me do?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It was.
Capture the objective.
You got attacked by a shark. I had to fucking fight in lava. Alright, like, think about how hard this is, right? The wind one, I'm standing there for 3 minutes, standing in front of a fucking fan. They bought me a fan, which has been great because the fan is actually really nice in my room. But they bought me a fan so I could crank it to max, stand in front of it, and then act as if the wind was pushing me. That is my life. So instead of getting to go to Hawaii with Danny or Zoe, or even get to go on a bromance date with Johnny to Hawaii, no, I just get a fan. The palm tree one killed me. How do you blow these palm tree things up? I was trying to apply pressure to like get the air in. It wasn't working. There's just fucking nothing. You gotta squish the thing. That was a tree? Yeah, it was like a, you know those like inflatable palm trees? That's what it was. Obviously it was funny because the palm tree's green, so it just green screened, but yeah. Squeeze the stem. Do you still have it? Yeah, I do. So I feel like I wasn't squeezing in the right spot and then blowing in the right spot. Well, now you have a palm tree. Well, it was a 2-pack, so I have 2 palm trees. I literally have a box. Like, I have a box full of random shit. I have a box which has chainmail, a panda hat, a palm tree, a bunch of Hawaii type stuff, like Lay's, and like straw things. I got a fan. Really, the budget's just been all over the place. Put on the panda hat. I would only put on the panda hat if Chengdu won. But unfortunately, they didn't. So let's talk about this map, though. Let's keep moving on. So Gladiators, we're going on to Ilios. Gladiators, this is sort of like the beginning of the resurgence from the Chengdu Hunters. So it's kind of like 3-1 to the Gladiators. I don't like this soldier. I don't think the soldier adds enough threat. And I think Jinmu can easily bully him. And we'll get a look from Jinmu's perspective. Control is such a shit game mode. I disagree. I think Control is a great game mode because I think it's very different to the way the game is played in other situations. 2CP is a shit game mode. Also, we need to have a conversation. Okay? I heard someone sent me a Reddit thread or a group of Reddit comments. Does everyone remember Chengdu Hunters versus Gladiators the first time they played Anubis? On Thursday, when Chengdu Hunters got a mega 2CP'd. Does everyone remember that? There were a bunch of people saying that it is not the map, it is the superior gameplay of the Gladiators that won them that map, and the reason that the Chengdu Hunters didn't cap was because of the glory and the effectiveness and the teamwork of the Gladiators. Not the fact that the Chengdu Hunters have to run back fucking a mile while the Gladiators have a 5-second respawn time. It is not high skill to just stall on the point with your nanos, with your rallies, with your wrecking balls, with your D.Va bombs and that kind of stuff. I'm not discrediting the Gladiators. They did a good job. They could have easily fucked it up, right? But that is not praise that you can give to a team when they stall 2CP. That is something that should never be said because it is just a bad game mode. Why didn't Chengdu do that? Because the reason the Gladiators had the world's greatest attack as well is because Shu had a ridiculous sleep. Can't take anything away from the sleep. That sleep on the Pharah at the start of that round was so clutch because they killed Jinmu for free. They walk in. They didn't have to use a single ultimate, I don't think. Maybe they used the nano and then they got another one, but because they win the first point with not using a single ultimate, they have a massive ultimate advantage heading into the second point. So therefore, all they had to do was press Q on attack, and Chengdu didn't have the ult. So they just EMP, nano-bladed, and then just clean up. Because Chengdu didn't have ults, because you can win this map with only two 2 team fight wins. So therefore, if you just win the first fight for free and win the first point for free, you get the second point for almost free because all you have to do is walk forward and press Q. And that's what they did. And that is my rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I'm sorry. But I just hate 2CP and I get very passionate about it. Jinmu's not making Nero's mistake and he's playing it slow. Conclusion, Shu MVP. Not what was said. Jaff, thank you for the 100 bits. I always love it with Custa and Anubis rant, yeah. Anubis is the worst one out of all of them as well, with the stalling. Custa be saying he loves 2CP? No. I don't care who gets 2CP'd. I feel bad for whoever gets 2CP'd. I like the Gladiators. I have nothing against the Gladiators. I think the Gladiators played straight up better and their teamwork is impeccable. And the way that they juggled aggro is impeccable and they were a great team and they played so well. But using that point as an example of it is what grinds my gears. Birdring is just deep. Freya, thank you for the 6 months. Is my notifications really quiet? They feel very quiet. Freya, thank you for 6 months. True CP Sag. The Ginger next door, thank you for the prime sub. And like you can just see from what's happening in this series, right? Jinmu is literally just playing the game for free, and Birdring's just playing Running Man Simulator. He's just shooting at him and then running away, and then shooting him and then running away, but they don't have an effective enough dive. I don't know why the Gladiators just didn't play the Sombra and just like play what they had been playing. I would honestly almost rather see them play Tracer, Sombra, Anna, Winston. Only Leave and Jinmu pods? What do you mean? We watched a bunch of other pods. We watched some Shu pod, we watched some Kevster pod, but Jinmu and Leave are the most impactful players in this thing. What do you want to see? Some Birdring Widow? Oh, actually, this is so tragic. This is so tragic. Birdring is a great player, but I could have hit this shot. I could have hit this shot. I'm being honest. I could have hit that. And that's when you know he should have hit it, when I'm thinking I could have hit it. You know what I mean? Overwatch 2 should have been 3CP. Oh, God, that hot take. Sub me in. Yeah, get me in here. The moral of the story is get me in. Oh, yeet. Oh, Kevster's dead. Yeah, he kind of, that movement was kind of jank. Space gets your Veltal, but this should be pretty much a hold from the Hunters. And I just think I just don't think the Gladiators comp was well thought out. Birdring on that soldier, and then he goes to Widow. Like, unless he just like 2-taps the Pharah Mercy, like he's just, it's not really gonna pay off for them. And then they also had a big mistake here where no one could touch. I think everyone else thought someone else could touch, and just nothing gets caught. Mars Hippo, thank you for the gifted sub to No. MCP, thank you for the 7 months. I don't know what to say. Well, Sag. And Luke with the 100 bits. 2CP is the game mode that requires the most team coordination, and since Chengdu lost, they have bad coordination. I very much disagree that it is the game mode that requires the most coordination. I think the game mode that requires the most coordination is probably Control, I would say. 2CP, I think, benefits pop-off plays the most. I think the 2CP is more about who pops off the most. Because you really need big plays to really close out fights. I'm just trolling. I know. I'm just responding to it.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Round.
Isn't it funny how the quality of your teams completely swapped? Wait, what teams? Dallas and LA? Oh, yeah, but that's just like, you gotta remember, like, all these teams have made great roster moves, great swaps. You gotta respect both all these rosters for, like, being able to turn their teams around, like Shanghai Dragons as well, right? So we're gonna trace the Sombra mirror. Straight up, we gotta just a mirror, through and true.
No
Who got the mega health pack? Gladiators getting this mega health pack is a really big deal. Right, like, Gaga has to go all the way back here for this mega pack, while Gladiators can just play around here. So that's just give them a massive advantage, and that actually gives them the first cap, right? Alright. Good slam by Muse. That's a great dive. Birdring did get caught though. Shu is just... Shu, I don't want to say you're out of position, but you're a little out of position. That was good counter aggression by the Hunters. It was a good dive by the Gladiators, but I feel like they overstayed their welcome a little bit, you know what I mean? Okay, once again, here's another great example, right, of the Gladiators trading aggro well and playing slow. So they lose Skew, they lose Shu, they lose Birdring, right? So they have 3 people alive. Kevster and Muse get a great dive and manage to punish a Veltal, and then they both get out. And right, like, there's no way in this situation should the Gladiators be able to get out of this fight. So they disengage, and then they trade aggro on the point, so they don't actually ever lose the point as well. So Muse and Space are using this ultimate, then they use the ult to stagger it out. And they're just slowing the game down for their supports to get back. And by the time the supports get back, all of a sudden the Gladiators are in a great spot. So this is just like textbook what Gladiators did the entire match of their coordination and teamwork in the middle of fights when they're either at an advantage or a disadvantage. While the Hunters, on the other hand, just unable to close out fights. Like, there's no way after getting 3 kills, they shouldn't be able to push to the point and close it out.
I welcome adversity.
Like, they used Rally and they just didn't do anything with it. So now oh, skewed. That might have been a bit of a mistake from him. Oh yeah, he went for the bash. Missed it, and then the Wrecking Ball comes and gives him a bop. Good transcendence from Shu though. Gaga's in trouble.
Into the iris.
I thought it was a donation. Good transcendence. Are they seriously not going to be able to close this? They should be able to close this. Yeah, Space is dead. Alright, that was expensive for the Hunters though. What was that? EMP, Transcendence, Rally, Mines? Big slam. Alright, so how does Birdring get this EMP set up?
My ultimate is charging.
We just gotta be careful. Yeah, he's gonna get caught.
See you later. Mucho mejor. I might need this later.
He's trying so hard to find someone to EMP. Honestly, the EMP was fine in the end. That's a struggle. And like, I think that's something that we don't give enough credit about as well. It is very hard to hit a good EMP in the Overwatch League. Like, you just see, like, Birdring was looking for it so much. Just trying to find them to group up. He gets a pretty good EMP in the end. Space is dead, though. Alright, Leave goes down though, so they should give the Gladiators a window to get into this fight. But they don't really have any ults going for them. Catch the pulse one, maybe? Oh, nice eat by Lei Young. Force Transcendence, Lei Young gets got in the remake. Oh, hacked. They have done a great job. I will say, when Jinmu plays the Sombra, he's done a great job of keeping Kevster accountable with these individual hacks. Oh, this is going to be hard for the Gladiators. They got to get out of here. Oh, nice EMP. I love this EMP. Even if someone else touches, they get Muse and skewed, just disengage back to the point. Are you seriously not going to die? There he goes. So Birdring gets the touch, but as I said, like, it's just like delaying the inevitable, especially with those two kills. Boom. Good comeback from the Hunters. Playing well. I think when they play the Wrecking Ball mirror, here's how I think it went. I feel like the Tracer, Sombra, Winston-Anna composition from the Gladiators, if they are ever able to effectively play that, they are at a massive advantage. If Gladiators had won that round, they probably would have won the map because they would have gone to well, and I think they would have been able to play the Winston-Anna. But when the Wrecking Ball is being played, I definitely think the Hunters have an advantage from time to time, or when it's a really good Pharah map. So now we go to King's Row.
Ready for battle.
You remember the map where Leave headshot the EMP? That was Chengdu Hunters versus Los Angeles Gladiators. The first map, the first match that they played on Thursday. First map on Ilio's first round on well. In like the first time that Birdring gets an EMP. Is it why Glads look worse on control than any other game modes? Yeah, I think the Winston style that the Gladiators... So I think the Gladiators are the best of two styles. There's Tracer, Hanzo, Orisa style with the like Bap Zen. Or when they play the Winston-Anna, right? I would say those are two of Gladiators' best styles. So whenever they can't play either of those compositions, it's generally where they struggle, in my opinion. Will these go on YouTube? This one will go on YouTube, yes.
Time to raise my APM.
You want some Birdring pop? Alright, let's get some Birdring Hanzo pop. Yeah, I'll be doing all the normal stuff. Like I'll be doing a power rankings. Oh my god, that is filthy. I'll be doing a power rankings going into the playoffs. Going into the play-ins, and then again going into the playoffs. I'll be doing a meta report. I'll be doing all that kind of stuff. Birdring is quite filthy. When it's play-ins, not this week, upcoming weekend, the weekend after that. And it's not going to be a lot of matches. I think there's like, at least I had this misconception. Play-ins is very short. Like it is only one night for, 1 night of APAC and then 2 days of 2 matches for play-ins. So there's not many matches. And then I think we have another break and then we have... I actually don't 100% remember the schedule.
I'm on fire.
I don't know, maybe September 5th? And then it's like... Do we have a date for All-Stars? I don't know if they're doing All-Stars. We have a week break after and then September 16th. Okay, so it's week break, play-ins, week break, playoffs, and then then the next weekend is the grand finals, I think, right? Or something around there. No All-Stars? Yeah. I think All-Stars is just too difficult with everyone all over the world. Space gets you a Veltor. How does that happen? Got him! And we got the Jinmu Genji, which we all know how I feel about the Jinmu Genji. The Gladiators are just so good on this King's Row map when they play this Orisa Hanzo. Do All-Stars at Grand Finals and fly out all the players, yeah. It's a great idea in a non-COVID world. Just fly everyone to the US, forehead. No Delta variant here.
See through the dragon's eyes.
So there's an early Valk from Yveltal. Jinmu's blade is going to need a big clutch here. Good res by Yveltal, getting that up. Oh, wow. Great play to be able to get shoot before Skew can get that Transcendence out. Birdring goes down. And this was such an important blade. I don't love the Genji, but like... And here's what we talked about earlier. I agree that I don't think the Pharah Mercy is that good against Bap Zen Hanzo. Especially with the Tracer D.Va walking around. It's hard to stay in the air and not get picked out. So I also think Sombra is bad against this because I think it's hard to get that effective dive with the rest of your team and get a good hack against the Orisa Hanzo. So I actually don't hate the Genji, especially if you can get value from the blade like we saw here. Because if Jinmu doesn't get the high value blade, they are very close to getting full health. Ooh. That was filthy. What's your take on the Orisa and the statue play? I think there's a time and a place for it. I don't think you can always do it. I think we've seen a couple of people get heavily punished against the Orisa and the statue play.
30 seconds remaining.
I'm on fire.
Objective A captured.
Is that it?
Why did teams go from playing double bubbly early in the year to Winston dive in a matter of time? People realize certain things are better. A lot of people really liked the Zarya at the start of the year with the double bubble. And then I think people realize that the D.Va is just a better Zarya. I think D.Va is just a better neutral character. Obviously, there is still some disagreements. A lot of teams in the East still play a lot of Zarya. But I personally believe that the D.Va is better as well. Yeah, they are dead. It's a good dive by the Hunters. Gladiators couldn't really back them up. They need to get rid of... Muse needs to get off of the Orisa, I think, at this point. He needs to get onto the Winston. I think they should go Winston-Anna, right? But they want to keep the Bongo. Oh, he's going to go Zen. She's going to go Zen. I don't love it, but let's see how it works. We got another Jinmu blade, though. There's also, yeah, I guess that's true, actually. I didn't even think about the nerfs to Zarya. I think Hunters got out aggressed. I don't know if it's out aggressed. I think they didn't play anywhere near as well in teamwork, team aggression than the Gladiators. Also, the Gladiators had some crazy individual pop-offs. Alright, pretty good bongo by Muse. They didn't get any picks from it, but oh, Custa just got bombed. Pretty well played by Skewed. Great Transcendence by Monk. Getting that Transcendence off over that EMP probably saved them. Oh, kills the Translocator. Nice play. Shu going for the hero play again. Well, not again. For the first time. Doesn't get as good of effectiveness. No, I'm not going to review Soul. I'm not going to watch any other games from the Countdown Cup playoffs. I just don't think they were very interesting. And I don't think we're ever going to see this meta again. So. Did Genji get to see more play with the new buff? I don't think so. It's going to be really interesting to see where the meta goes. Like, is the West going to try and play Brawl again with Lucio? So we got the Genji. Like, I actually kind of like this play by the Hunters with the McCree Genji, like, D.Va bomb. Like, they just have so much damage, and it's actually forced the Gladiators to mirror what they're doing. I really do like the Gladiators' composition, though, in terms of, like, we can't dive anymore. We're just gonna hard switch damage, and they just go Bap, Zen, McCree, Hanzo. I think this is, like, such a smart play. Unfortunately, they kind of ult-fucked themselves pretty badly. Like, in the second point, they tried to switch towards the Brig Zen, like, and go towards the dive with the Winston-Anna, but then they never got there, and then they switched over to the, like, the high damage comp with like, the Bunker Star, right? And then they kind of, like, half-assed both of them. And never really got the ultimates up, and that's how the Hunters were able to just roll through here. They had the rally, they're gonna have the Transcendence. So I like Gladiators comp, I think they just did it too late. Yeah, I'm gonna be playing a lot of ranked this week, Taro the sequel. I think I'm gonna go play some ranked.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Thanks for the
Attackers
assist.
incoming. Defend objective A.
Custa's gonna donate SR all week. Yeah, I need to get my characters. I want to get some rank 25 character accounts as well for the off season. So I gotta, I don't know, maybe start doing custom games to start streams or something like that.
Routing powered forward fire.
You ever consider doing educational hero guides? I've thought about it. I might do it in the off season if I'm being honest. I don't really enjoy doing educational guides though, which is my biggest thing. Hitchhiker of the Mind, thank you for the 8 months. But I'll probably do it in the off season. Contortion, thank you for the prime sub as well. Thank you very much for all the subs. Alright, so here we see the Gladiators going for the Hanzo Brig Zen, Bab Zen, sorry, against the Pharah. Yo, John J. Ramon with a 19-month sub as well.
Right beside you.
Free content, do know what not to do.
Let's get through that outfit.
It's the point of other accounts. I'll say this. Let me stop it because this is actually something that a lot of people don't realize. The biggest issue with now that they divvied it into 3 roles, as far as my understanding goes with it, if you have a high ranked account, so I have my Custa account, right? That is like average SR, it probably thinks me around 4,400, maybe 4,500 because it did used to be quite hard. So my hidden MMR is quite high. But it actually relates your tank and your DPS to my support role. And my tank and DPS fucking suck. So what happened when I was playing on Custa is I wanted to play all 3 roles, but I was getting put into very high ranked games as DPS and legitimately just throwing games at a high rank. So by having a new account, it makes sure you start at a given hidden MMR. Like a reset MMR. It doesn't have you any playing off of anything. And in the off season, I'm going to try and get all 3 roles to 4,400. So I want to learn tank and DPS and like playing all forms of tank and DPS. So in the off season, I'm going to try and get these 3 different accounts: a support account, which I'm just going to keep as Custa, and then 2 other accounts to 4,400. And that's the plan for the off season. But I want to do it on new accounts so I don't have that issue of like either skewed SR or like inflated SR, right? Like I don't want to inflate my SR of like, oh, I finally make it to 4,400 on DPS and it's like, yeah, but I like the game started me very high at hidden MMR, you know what I mean?
Objective A captured.
Yeah, I saw YZN and Sparker got top 2 in, they were all the top 10 in EU. Nutty. You guys want some Birdring pump? Birdring gets a little too deep. Space does a great job of getting in the background, punishing Leave again. Shu is also just deep. Honestly, the whole Gladiators were deep. Birdring's the only one who got punished. Great barrage by Jinmu though. And that's like the value of the Pharah Mercy on this first 2 points. I would say Hunters would probably be favored on this map in general. If they just stick to the Pharah, I think it works very well for them. Do you not think that's a bit crap for EU players? Wait, what do you mean? Like smurfing? I don't like smurfs in the idea of like if you're playing the same role you always play, why do you need multiple accounts to do the exact same thing? Just play on one account. But hey, like fuck it. It's their $20, they can spend their $20 however they want. But I also think it is one of the reasons that matchmaking is so imbalanced because of how many people have smurfs. Woo! Monk hits the double nade there. It was like primed with the rocket at the same time. It hits the same spot as that rocket. And this is good team coordination from the Hunters and something that I think they were sorely lacking in a lot of this series of they just weren't coordinating their ultimates with the dive and making sure they're closing kills. Yeah, I am. I will be doing Blob vs. Blob.
not going anywhere.
Shu goes down again. Just the amount of pressure. I actually love this as well. The observers did a great job of catching this. Monk goes for this like wild flank, throws it and just doesn't do anything. So now he's just behind the gladiators. Monk, no, just keep rotating.
I will keep you healed. My ultimate is almost ready.
No, I'm not going to do a Team Egg versus Team Bren review. Honestly, the talent takedown was very one-sided, so it wasn't that good. Moral of the story of the talent takedown is the Zucchini Panini fucks. So we see Gladiators go back to the Tracer, Sombra, Anna, Winston. I actually really like this switch from the Gladiators. I think this is their best way forward. Just try and nullify the effectiveness of the Pharah. Because with the Orisa like Hanzo stuff that they were playing before, it's just... You're kind of relying on Birdring to hit a nutty shot, right? Could you have carried Team Egg? I don't know, probably not. Main tank Danny. Good dive. Jinmu's just lost. He doesn't know who to shoot at. Space does a great job of nullifying that nano though. And this is sort of what I say about Jinmu, is I don't think Jinmu had a great game on Pharah. I feel like he didn't hit the directs that he usually hits.
I will not waste this opportunity.
Behind you. Where does it hurt? Move back. Shoot down.
Oh, what?
60 seconds remaining.
I've got you.
It's kind of embarrassing. Yeah, he kind of got whacked.
I am
Brig gets their revenge. There's the direct bait. Oh. Shu's in trouble. Or Yveltal gets caught. Gladiators are actually in a really good spot because they're winning this fight without using too many ults. If the Hunters can get the... Oh, actually, I want to go back and look at this. I did this as my best of the day on Sunday. Look at this. He's just like following Leave. Leave's just getting stalked by Muse. Yeah, the Hunters really need to get more ults out of the Gladiators there, because now the Gladiators can roll this all the way through the map. Custa, you ever watch F1 yet? I've been really getting into F1 in the last few months, ever since I watched Drive to Survive. F1 starts again this weekend, right? Maybe I'll stay up for it. Maybe I'll watch a game live, because watch a race live. Alright, so that was Nano, EMP, D.Va Bomb. Well, it wasn't that good for the Gladiators because they used all of their ultimates. So they Nano Muse in, and they EMP, which is actually a very important. I think they needed to get that EMP under Jinmu. If Jinmu was able to just go fly around, he might have actually been able to get the barrage and close that out. So, not the worst, because Gladiators did need to close that fight, but that was an extensive fight. There was a lot of Qs. Alright, Barrage Mines, Valk, not worth it. That was a pretty poorly executed ultimate cycle from the Hunters. Jinmu coming from the floor. Yeah, this wasn't very good by the Hunters. Like, they're gonna win the team fight, but it wasn't worth the ultimates that it's gonna cost them. And they lose Jinmu. There's no way they lose this team fight, right? This was actually such a bad fight by the Hunters. And they did this time and time again. Like, that's just really poorly done. They used 3 ultimates and didn't even win it that cleanly. But it did give us the Jinmu talk. This was the moment, and I want to reiterate this. This is the moment that I was like, because I actually said at the halftime, I was like, I need Leave to be exceptional in this match. Leave needs to step up, he needs to be better, and he needs to carry the Hunters to more wins. And this was the moment that made me decide that I was going to vote for Leave for MVP. This is so clutch. The Hunters have nothing going for them except for this pulse bomb, and Skewed has the rally. They don't win this team fight, and he gets the stick. Like, that was so clutch. And with that, the rest of the team's able to just win it, right? They just don't have to sustain on the point. They can push them away. And that's the hold for the Chengdu Hunters. Sideshow's casting there was amazing. Exactly, like Sideshow set that stage with that casting for that pulse bomb so well. And Gladiators just can't touch. Map 7, baby. Havana. This might be one of the best maps we've had ever. I honestly think this might be one of the best maps of all time. Just with how back and forth it was.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Wait to get into the fight. All systems operational. D.Va, ready for combat.
Rialto last year, yeah. I didn't say it's the best 100%. I said it's one of the best. That Rialto last year, Philly versus Paris was also one of them.
Attackers incoming.
Get behind the
Stop the payload.
No one's hero. Thank you for the 5 months. What are you going to do for these streams when our season is over? Coaching buds? No, I'm going to be playing a lot of ranked. As I said before, I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be trying to climb to 4,400 in all 3 roles.
Comme c'est aimable de ta part.
Got you good as new.
But I'll still be making content on YouTube. I'm not 100% sure what content I'm going to be making, but I'll be trying to keep everything alive and stuff like that. Jinmu gets Shu. Shu gets caught a lot at the first part of this map, if I remember correctly. Need some Birdring popping a little bit? Yeah, we'll do it when he starts popping off. Where, Jimmy? Who needs Jimmy when you got Leave? And that is the sad reality of it. Like, I can understand if Leave needed to play Jason and they needed a hit scan, you would put Jimmy in, but when you can play Hanzo Widow and you got Leave, yeah, you know, it's... Leave didn't hit anything for a minute, but that's because they weren't peeking. He literally hits every shot he needs to hit. If they're not gonna peek their heads out and do nothing for a minute, then he's allowed to not hit anything. Maybe a dumb question, why does Leave not start it? This, the reason you don't see a lot of Widows play up here is this is actually very exploitable. Also, it's, you know, they're gonna have Hanzos and Zens like spamming there. You really wanna be taking different off angles and weird angles. Also, if he plays up here, space can potentially cut him off from the rest of the team. Generally why you see Widows play back here compared to playing in on that high ground. And they're expecting, yeah, exactly. Like, everyone expects you to be up there. Good, Dragon. We got another kill by Leave. And Kevster's really struggling on this Tracer to get any effectiveness. He needs his team to give him a little bit of space. Woo! Why Mercy here? Okay, so why Mercy here is a good question. Why the reason you play Mercy here is if they're gonna play Bap Zen, Hanzo Orisa, as Brig, you don't really do anything. You can't get Inspire uptime. It's hard to hit whip shots. It's hard to get effectiveness out of Brig. Mercy just naturally gets more effectiveness. As much as Brig, if you get the rally, is really nice. I think the Mercy is probably just as good here, and I think is a safer option, especially if you're gonna play double sniper. Why Mercy over Zen? The Hunters don't want to play Bap Zen because if they play Bap Zen with an Orisa, it could allow the Gladiators to switch to Wrecking Ball Tracer Sombra, right? So you need to remember the Hunters, as the defensive team, need to have a composition that is good generally against everything. And their composition that they are playing, not the Genji, they were playing the Hunter Widow, is generally pretty good against most of what the Gladiators could play. If they went too hard into the bunker, it could allow the Gladiators to dive with a Tracer Sombra Wrecking Ball or something like that. Also, Yveltal doesn't play Zen, yeah. But
Blocked by the dragon.
let's have a look at the Jinmu Genji. I don't know how I feel about him switching off of the, like, I have a big problem with, like, their composition as a whole. Like, I don't like the Genji with the Wrecking Ball. Once again, it feels like they have a weak dive. They're playing Baptiste, Wrecking Ball, Genji, Widow. Their compositions actually are fucking in shambles from the Chengdu Hunters. It only works because Leave actually gets value out of the Widow. Like, he shouldn't get value out of the Widow, but he just does. That's why I feel like they lost. I actually think it should have lost in the map, but I don't think this is the reason they lost. Yeah, I think Lee wanted to switch. Yeah, obviously they want to get off of this comp, but they're just sort of stuck on it. But that's a problem in itself, right? Is that you don't want to get stuck on a comp. Oh. Oh. Nasty. Who comes close to Leave in terms of flexibility? Yeah, Fleta and Prophet, I would say, would be the two that come to mind. Even Prophet, not so much, because Prophet doesn't really play a lot of hitscan. He can, but he doesn't play a lot of it. I would say, like, Fleta, Prophet, Leave, Kevster.
No one can hide from my sight.
Shy, no, Shy doesn't have as good a flexibility, I don't think. Like, Shy's good, but I don't think he's as flexible. Prophet's Ash fucks, though. Nero, yeah, Nero doesn't play a lot of hitscan, though, from what I've seen. So maybe he does, and we just haven't seen it. There's a bunch of players that, like, you could put in there, but we just haven't seen it. Architect, yeah, but Architect isn't at the same level as all those other players, right? Big shot by Birdring. Dante's flexible, he's just so good at Tracer, but Dante doesn't play hitscan really for the most part, right? Oh, this is actually so funny. Look at this from Kevster's point of view. What does it mean someone can't play hitscan? Okay, very much money. And here's a misconception. When I say someone can't play hitscan, they can play hitscan just fine, right? Like, obviously, all these players can play hitscan. They could play it in ranked and get to 4,500, 100%. When I say they can't play hitscan, I mean they can't play hitscan to the level of the best hitscans in the world, right? Or at an Overwatch League level, where it's like they need to be incredible, right? They're not fucking, they're not Lip, they're not Fitz, they're not Kai, they're not Leave, they're not Birdring, they're not these kind of things. Like, they don't have that same level of pop-off. Arns, like, there's a bunch of great players. Like, they can play it, and if you put them in the role, they can make it work, but not to the degree that you would need a hitscan to do it. But look at this. Kevster throws the pulse bomb thinking that he's going to make it up, but Monk fucks it up, bonks his head, so the pulse bomb goes high, and then he actually manages to get out. I don't know how he lives in this situation. So we got window v window. And here the comp starts like biting them in the butt a little bit, and they have to give this up. Is Decay? Oh yeah, Decay's super flexible as well. Yeah, Decay has hitscan in his repertoire as well. This has to be a sick blade. I'm surprised he didn't blade off the bat, but he falls into the dragon and just doesn't get the healing. He gets split from the team, don't have the nano, and he just falls over. Good play from the Gladiators. But yeah. That's just too many ults, and the blade didn't get anything. Do you think Prophet should leave for a better team? Maybe. It comes down to his contracts and who he's available to go to and that kind of stuff. He might be a free agent at the end of the season. I don't know what his contracts are like, so he might be able to shop around. I think if a lot of people would make space on their rosters if Prophet said he would go somewhere else. Prophet to Shanghai? I really hope Prophet doesn't go to Shanghai. That would be just sad. I don't want to see Lip, Fleta, and Prophet on a team together. Because that would mean one of them would always not be playing. And that's just, yeah, it's just a waste. Gaga with very early mines. I don't really like those mines from Gaga at all. Like, there's no follow-up to these mines, especially since they're playing double hitscan. Actually, I just remembered that they're playing Wrecking Ball Orisa. So Gaga needed to use the mines. Because Late Young's now on the Orisa. The legendary Late Young Orisa. They've definitely comp-fucked themselves a couple of times. Good pull. Just slowed Late Young down. That's, and just like coordination, right? They get the pull with the D.Va bomb to make sure they close out that fight. That was clean.
Team kill.
That's true, Bren. What in the Chengdu is that was also a great call by Bren.
60 seconds remaining.
Alright. Got the rally, got the dragon, the window. This dragon did a great job of splitting up the comp. Space gets caught over here on his own. Like, their comp is actually just in shambles. But good play with the nano. The dive from the Gladiators just didn't pay off. Did Mira play this match? No. They didn't play Mira and Moth since the beginning of the Countdown Cup.
10 seconds remaining.
Why is Immortal so hated in the gaming side? Because they've kind of fucked everyone over. They, as a company, they fucked everyone over, not just the Valiant. They had that whole Immortal Optic debacle where they bought Optic, and then all that kind of stuff. It was a lot.
Initiating match.
Do you think Moth deserves more playtime in the Countdown Cup? It's just a really good meta for Skewed and not a good meta for Moth, right? Like, the Gladiators don't play Pharah Mercy, and Lucio's banned. Those are the two heroes Moth would play. Mercy and Lucio. So Moth is just not going to play. Right now, this is a very big Brig and, you know, flex support meta, which is good for Skewed. So it makes sense why Skewed is playing over Moth. He plays a lot of Brig in ranked. Yes. Okay. Moth is a fine Brig. I'm sure he can play Brig at an hour level. He's probably very good at it. Skewed is #1 in ranked. #1 in almost every category on Brig. He is considered the best Brig we have in the league. It's not about, like, Moth can't play Brig. It's about that Skewed is really, really good at Brig. What do you call a boat driven by super intelligent people? Scholarship. Alright, so we got the Hunters. When it all matters, for all the marbles, instead of playing Leave Tracer and Jinmu Hanzo, they play Genji, Zen, Mercy. Yeah, I don't know why they were playing Zen Mercy as well. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Just play BAP. They need to play BAP. They need to have the healing for everyone.
payload moves. Let them up. All better. Now.
Birdring pop soon. I'm just gonna have a look. Just having a gander between pods. See how Birdring does then for you. Jinmu blade. Oh, this was so important actually, yeah. This is fucking filthy. Look at this play. If Birdring doesn't hit this arrow, first of all, if he doesn't hit the arrow on the Jinmu, then the Baptiste is dead, and Birdring probably gets dash reset. And then your Veltal gets one, and they're probably gonna win. Oh! Fuck me.
Just
Time to raise my APM.
Oh! And the reason this is so important is because he gets these kills, even though he dies, it creates a trade on the point that makes it so it's not a clean win for Chengdu, right? And because it's not a clean win, the Gladiators can actually retake from this point. So it had heavy implications. It wasn't just like cool, like if they didn't get that, this would probably be a Gladiators loss of first point.
Cease your resistance.
So they have the ults here. They just need to utilize them well. I don't really like this dragon from Leave. Like, it's okay, but it doesn't really put a pressure on anyone. Skew does a great job of applying pressure on the card as well. Just not dying. And, like, Shu just keeps him alive. Somehow it just keeps him alive. This was such an important hold from the Gladiators.
I need healing.
Get behind the barrier.
the payload is stopped. Get it moving.
60 seconds remaining.
Brutal Tango, the Owlhead scriptwriter has retired. You are now in charge of the Owl script. Which two teams do you write in for playoffs, grand finals, for entertainment and excitement? I want to put... I'm just going to put the two shittiest team. Can we do like Spark versus Washington? Just Spark versus Washington for no reason at all. It would be an absolute fucking nightmare. And Jinmu gets the blade and should be able to clean up. Gladiators just didn't really have many ults left in the bank. Custa trying to kill the league.
My ultimate is ready.
Gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, you know?
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Houston vs Dallas with Battle for Texas, that'd be so funny. Oh, that's a great shurikens. That's just a great engagement, honestly, from the Hunters. Using only window D.Va bomb, you take that. That was a good stall by Space and Kevster, though. Really good stall by Space and Kevster.
Hey.
Go shoot pop for the window, it's not coming up yet.
I'm ready to rally.
So they get skewed off the bat. Skewed dies with rally. Look at this. It's just such a good play. I love the aggression from the... And they just get caught with the... From the dragon. With the bongo. Lee gets Kevster. How does Monk die to this, by the way? Does he get booped? Yeah, he does get it. It looks like he kind of gets pushed by space into it. Jinmu blade soon.
Activated. I'm gonna shoot you down.
They thought they had it. He just murders the Orisa. And by the time Jinmu realizes, it's too late. That's so clutch how fast he killed that Orisa. They fucking thought the Hunters could have used ults to close out that fight as well. Jinmu didn't think you were gonna need that blade. So clutch. Watch the shield placement. That doesn't really matter that much. That's not a big deal. And I trust his skews, yeah. Oh, Monk gets got. That's just a really good deep bomb engage with the rally. Alright, Birdring gets 2. Alright, final hours, final moment. Leave needs to come in clutch with this pulse bomb.
Get the payload moving.
Good play by Kevster, forces the recall. So the Gladiators aggress, which I like. They punish the backline. Leave does a good job. Leave and Jinmu do a good job on the cart. She gets another window.
Cease your resistance.
Bongo's a problem. This lamp by Monk was so clutch to keep them in it, but they're just in so many problems. And that's it.
Victory.
After watching the final Shu window, why still leave for MVP over Shu? Because I'm making a decision of my MVP based on the entire season of play, not based on one play that happened in a match. One time. Feel like everyone else should do the same thing and not just think about what happened in the last few weeks when they are casting their vote. Termixo, thank you very much for the Prime sub. Hot take, Leave underperformed in every map Chengdu lost in this series. If Leave didn't show up on a map, Chengdu would lose. Going into the playoffs, I don't think Leave will step up if he keeps playing like he does in the maps they lose. Thus, Chengdu will not get to semifinals of playoffs, in my opinion. I think Leave didn't have as dominant a performance as he does usually, but even then, I think he was still good. And I think it wasn't on Leave 100%. I think it was on like a lot of the people on the team. I think Gaga really struggled in this tournament. I don't think Late Young had anywhere near as much impact as Space, and I actually think Jinmu kind of struggled. He didn't really get much value out of his EMPs. He had to play Genji at times, which was very hit inconsistent, and I think his Pharah wasn't as dominant as we've seen it in the past. I think you need to give credit to Gladiators that they were oppressive and they were hard to deal with. So I can see where you're coming from, but you know, I'm a Leave apologist. And I think Leave had a couple of very clutch moments. Easnick, thank you for the 20 months. What up, Custa? What do you think better? I'll talk about that later. But thank you for the 20 months. That's it for it. That's the grand finals. Massive props to the Los Angeles Gladiators squads. They've seen some shit. They've been through a lot. You need to give credit. All their players are popping off. They're playing so well. They're peaking at the right time. I'm excited to see more of this team. They really deserved it. They were the better team. They were the best team in the Countdown Cup, without a doubt. I thought it was the Chengdu Hunters, but I think Chengdu Hunters in these matches against the Gladiators, they weren't better than the Gladiators. So it is what it is. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys found it interesting. I will not be reviewing any other VODs. They just weren't very interesting. So if you're looking for other VODs, you'll have to go check them out on the replay viewer yourself. Thank you very much for watching. Love you all, and I'll see you guys next time.